I started 3 days ago at 1615.
Yeah, I was just doing that math in my head. I was like, because
Yeah,
we
and
did
I'm
a video with
currently
you a
sitting
week
at
ago, and you were 1600
yeah,
SR.
yeah, and I'm currently sitting at 2149 right now.
I'm just the best.
So you've gained almost 600 SR in like a week and a
Yes.
half.
So is
Yes.
this grounds to negotiate for a raise?
Good morning.
What's up? How you doing? How you been?
I'm doing good. I've been pretty well. Been on the climb, so it's been nice.
Yeah, every time I get one of those messages where it's like, hey, I won a bunch of games, I'm like, yeah. So I'm not gonna like do a full recap of our last session because that might take a little while and everything. But what was there anything between last session and now that either you didn't really feel like you were able to properly work on, or you felt like you needed more clarification on?
I think I need to work on getting better at kind of communication between myself and my other healer when I need to like stop damage boosting the DPS that I'm with and like help them with the extra healing if they need it.
Okay. And okay. So I'm starting stuff down. Daisy, why are you doing this to me? To me, your ailing mother. So you feel like you need to get better communicating between you and your other healer to divvy up who heals who in certain comps.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Well, I will ask you the question that I always ask support players because I think is the most important question you can possibly answer on planet Earth today. What is your job in this comp?
In this comp, I'm sticking with Poke, who is the Pharah, and then damage boosting the Genji when he needs it, or he's more on the push than the Pharah is.
Okay, yeah. I think you are more so sticking with the Pharah. I feel like based on you're on a Poke comp, right? Like you have the Pharah, you have like it, but you don't really have a diva, right? You have a Zarya, so you're on like that double bubble. You're on more of a Poke comp to me. So I feel like you should never really be in a situation where you have to go play with your Genji, if that makes sense.
Right.
Thoughts on that, Jayne?
Sorry, I was reading chat. I'll be honest.
That's fair. Never mind then. It's not a big thing. But yeah, you're going to be mostly playing with your Pharah, and any time you spend with your tanks is time that is heals you're not giving to your Ana, because this comp is all about like this comp is kind of all about like alt combos, right? Like you have like a Grad Barrage and you have a Nano Blade, and you want to try and rotate those two as much as possible, and then you have Primal and you have Valk for tempo ults, right? Because we talked about tempo ults last time. You were the first person who ever spoke to who actually got that analogy when I talked about the drums.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah, right. So I was talking. So last session I was talking just for chat. I was talking about tempo ults, and how to explain a tempo ult, and I explained tempo ults as the drum line to a song where you keep the pace of what's going. And anytime your guitars start to get a little, your guitars or your bass starts to get a little, going in another direction, you have the drums come back in and keep up the rhythm, and that's your tempo ults, right? You want it to keep going at the same pace you've been going. I think it makes sense. But yeah, so you're sticking with your Pharah, and then sometimes you like help your Genji when he's blading, but otherwise I think you're kind of just pocketing your Pharah here. Cool?
Yes.
Cool.
One. Attackers incoming. Power. Defend objective A.
Together we will not fail. Contact.
This would help.
Okay, it's good of you to check that after. Can we pause again? Okay, you're 15 seconds in. What kills you on the enemy team comp, and how does it do it?
It would be the Junkrat on that left-hand side, but I don't need to be concerned about that because I'm with the Pharah in the air, so my biggest concern is the Baptiste if he tries to shoot us out of the air or if they swap to somebody that's a hit scan.
Yeah, I think it's really just I think it is both of their supports focusing you. I think realistically in this comp, you're very safe, right? Like hog hooking you would be an anomaly. A Junkrat double mining into you on high ground would be like a fresh nuts moment, but like probably not going to happen. Yeah, I think realistically you don't have a lot to be worried about. So you just got to keep up your regular movement, and you don't really have to play differently. Just like play the way you should be playing around walls and angles, so that you're not peeking people for too long, right? Because they don't have any one shots or anything. So anytime that you die against their comp is probably you staying out in the open too long, as opposed to just like, oh, you peeked an angle for 1/10 of a second, and their Widow player is on like 400 milligrams of Adderall, so he hit the shot, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's keep going. So they rotate to point. Your Pharaoh moves up to keep poking. You hear the Doom start punching, so you get scared of that and you help. Your on is a little too far up, but your team just kind of walked over them there, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And then we acknowledged that they swapped to a soldier.
Okay.
So I was trying to play a little bit more back.
Yeah. So obviously it's still like, so it's still not like the same level of burst damage, but it's still a good amount of damage, and you want to try and keep up having like good movement.
Right.
Even more so now, because if you peek those angles for longer, it's bad. Hey, where's your Pharaoh right now?
All the way up there.
Yeah, you just kind of, and I know nobody's pushing Kurt because it's like a weird ranked game, but like,
Yeah.
you can see through walls, right? Like, I feel like
Yes.
the thing that like I'm kind of noticing here is that like you don't really abuse the fact that you can see through walls, so you turn around to go look at something, and you never really check to make sure that everything is okay, like back where you were going from, even, right? Like when you turned around there, you just went back to heal your on and go back to cart. You didn't see if like because there were like 4 people there, right? Like somebody could have gotten hurt. Dude, don't let your kids run with scissors. You gotta watch those kids.
Don't leave them unattended.
I think you started on heals there, but I think it's better to stay on heals for that whole thing. I don't remember if you went to damage boost, but I think you did fine there. That was actually like an okay super jump because you were trying to dodge shots, and I like that. Going out this.
Your team is really allergic to the card.
Yeah.
In this situation, Gunther, who should be the one? Like, you know, if Blue Rose is the one who sees that the cart's not being pushed, should she be going back or like communicating? You know, if you were playing this in kind of like a scrim setting, for example, and you were looking at this from a VOD review for a team, who would you have assigned to be pushing the cart?
I would rotate my Ana to that high ground, that platform above, and I would have my Zarya pushing cart. Because I don't know if this is like from your experience, Jane, but from my experience, it's usually been the off tank who pushes cart, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because Diva can rejoin the fight, or like Sigma still has like some impact at that place. Like usually feels like your off tank is the one person you can kind of slot out for a second.
So it's usually going to be just for chats and I suppose Blue Rose's purposes, it's usually going to be the person who has the highest mobility or is going to require the least amount of repositioning in order to be useful in a fight. So I see a lot of people, it's very, like, people in chat always think about, like, Ana needs to be pushing the cart. Ana should almost never be pushing the cart, because she needs to be finding a place where she can fortify, good cover, good sightlines, and she needs to be there before the fight has even started. And the same thing, like, the Genji wants to be up and poking and building ult charge, the Pharah wants to be controlling space and spamming, and you need to be up there to be supporting that Pharah. The Monkey can be up to be looking for, like, staging for a dive. But the Zarya is going to be able to like project that bubble a pretty sizable distance, whoever she needs to be, and she can do that from cart or move like a very small amount of space and use that projected in order to be effective. And she's also just a little bit more protected being on the cart with her personal bubble there. So the correct answer absolutely is the Zarya. Of course, Gunther knows that. But it is more about like trying to get into position and like hold even before the fight begins.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but also this is ranked, right? So sometimes you say, "Hey Zarya, can you go push cart?" And your Zarya goes, "Fuck you."
Yeah, it was everybody was pushing forward, and I was like, "Guys, cart," and they were like, "Go grab it and then bring it," and I was like, "Okay, well, you don't have heals for a couple seconds then."
At that point, you just say, "No, I'm sticking with Pharah." Just don't negotiate with terrorists, right?
Yeah.
If you know that you're correct, don't negotiate.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and to that extent, it's like that's like I think like wording is really important in terms of like ranked comms, because if you say guys cart, it's like, well, everyone goes, well, that's not my job.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you say, hey Zarya, can you push cart? Then maybe they'll say yes because it's directed at them, and maybe they won't, right? But it's if you say, hey, it's like someone call 911. It's like no one will call 911.
Yeah.
But if you point at somebody and you say you call 911, they'll probably
Makes them
do
more
it. 'Cause-
responsible for it.
Yeah, because it's their job now.
Yeah, it's like shot calling 101. You got to be direct with your calls, not indirect. Because bystander effector, it's like, we need to do this, or like, hey, the cart needs to be pushed. That's kind of like an implicit and indirect command. When shot calling, it's like direct, right? So if you and if we're talking more shot calling stuff, like if you give somebody like a Zarya a direct command, you're like, Zarya, push the cart, and she's like, no. If it was a team, she would have to be like, no, because of this, or no, and then get pass that direct command to somebody else. Be like, no, I'm going to set up for Grav. Winston, you push. And Winston will be like, yes, or no, I got to set up for Grav. Anna, you push, or something like that. It's just like, it has to be direct command, and then it's either going to be accepted or counter called. So, yeah. That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's keep going, I guess. You've been doing a better job of damage boosting a lot and doing like the counter pressure stuff we were talking about, which is nice.
Yeah, I've been trying to focus on that more.
Yeah, like there have been times where your tanks are low, and instead of just being like, oh, I need to go heal my tanks, you've been like damage boosting your DPS to help with counter pressure. That's been really, really good.
Yeah.
Because that's something we talked about last time, Jane, of like the concept of counter pressure and how if you heal your tanks, sure, they're not going to die, but if you keep boosting your DPS, you might win the fight, right?
Yeah.
And hey, you're not doing the thing that I was just talking about. What, did I just caster curse you?
So I did that because the Ana felt pressure and called to drop. And as soon as I did it, I was like, okay, she's got it covered. I'm going to Valk and damage boost my DPS now.
Okay, sure. Okay. I don't think that was optimal, but I understand the thought process behind that, and I don't blame you.
Yeah.
That guy just kind of ended. But yeah, it's good of you to try to be like floating around this side mostly, and I think you're staying in the open for a little too long, but it's not as bad as it was, right?
Right.
Like you were doing pretty good there, but I think and I understand the thought process of like, I want to go res my Ana died, like that's important, we need to win that fight. But that's one of those scenarios where like the risk the risk of you getting that res off is so
being
high.
Down 2 rather than being down 1 instead.
Yeah, and sure, the value from getting that res is really high, but it's not enough to really counteract like the risk. And that's that's just like judgment calls that you have to make as a Mercy. And sometimes you fuck it up. Like it's not like a big deal or whatever. It's just sometimes you fuck up those calls, and you need to understand like the risk associated with what you're doing as opposed to the like value you get from it.
Right.
Good job trying to LOS the visor. They just use a fuck ton ult, and you guys you just lose this fight anyways. But you tried to play well.
The fact that they used this many ults and they won that fight so quickly is actually very good for you, right? So a lot of
they're
ults
out
used,
of resources, yeah.
And really what you're trying to win is not team fights, but you're trying to win seconds and minutes off the clock. So they used a very large number of ultimates to be rewarded with a very low amount of actually time burnt off the clock when they're defending. So that sort of situation is like your team wiped and there was nothing that you could do about it, but that's a good thing because the opponent did that very improperly.
Right. That's something I'm trying to get better at, because in a situation like that, normally I would try to save as many people as possible, even though knowing now it probably was a lost fight.
Yeah. You just didn't know where your Pharaoh was for that whole fight, huh?
Yeah.
Remember how I was talking about how you should be able to like close your eyes and understand where everyone is and like predict the game for the next 3 or 4 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do that with your teammates too, not just with what the enemy team is going to do.
And
sorry, go.
I was just gonna say, like, that's the thing, that this is the first time. I mean, we had you on Rate My Play, but that's such a fucking meme segment. It doesn't really count as coaching, right? So that's the first thing that's sticking out to me in your gameplay, looking at it a little bit more seriously, is the fact that, like, on Mercy, one of the things, like, people would be like, oh, Mercy's so easy to play, right? It's because she's easy to play from an execution point of view. And even that, she has some things that are difficult to execute and takes some time to get into muscle memory. But the hard part about Mercy isn't actually like executing. It's everything else that you need to do on the hero in order to be impactful. And your head is definitely not on a swivel nearly as much as it needs to be. Like, On Mercy, above and beyond every single hero, you have no excuse not for knowing where every single, like all 12 heroes in the game are. I mean, 11 heroes, excluding yourself, sort of thing.
Right.
So there's a lot of times where you are facing like in one direction for too long, or like looking at the target that your guardian angel to, where you don't have to. You can like guardian angel, and then even during the process of that guardian angel, be looking around. But if you're ever surprised that like your Pharah is barraging because you didn't know where she was, or that a tracer got the drop on you, it's because you weren't putting enough effort into awareness. And on Mercy, you survive by basically predicting where the threats are going to be in advance, and you can do that because you just have so much more free time in terms of thinking power to expend to awareness and prediction. So even if that Pharah isn't communicating that she's going for a barrage, which
You should be able to see what she's doing.
right,
Yeah.
and you seeing her, the flow of the fight, knowing that she has barrage, you can kind of be like, oh, the Pharah is acting this way because she's going to barrage, and you've got to either be ready to support her or start supporting her right away.
Prior to doing it, right.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the biggest thing is just like awareness, looking everywhere, constantly looking on the flanks. And it's like you've got, I mean, especially when you're playing Pharah, you've got massive sight lines. You can see everything basically. So one of the most valuable things that you can do to a team on Mercy is not only be putting so many of your resources into awareness and tracking of positions, but communicating the ones where, like, if you see a threat, like if you're seeing a tracer and you're safe, but like your Ana's not, you can be like, you know, Ana, you're getting flanked from the right by tracer or something like that. And like shit like that wins games. I have another thing that I'll talk about, but I'll talk about it later in the vlog. So back to you then, Gunther.
Cool. I have my laptop next to me, so I'm just writing down notes and stuff.
For sure.
Okay, cool. No, Jane brings up like a phenomenal point of just like you have no excuse not to keep your head on a swivel like that. And yeah, there's a lot to be said for having an intrinsic understanding of like of the game to a point where you can kind of know what's going to happen a lot of the time. But even more important than that is looking and confirming, right? Like you need to know where the people on your team are because. Well, for like a million reasons, you need to know that. Like, I could write a dissertation on that.
Yeah.
Like, but you just need to be like keep your head on a swivel and like be like it's like checking your mirrors in your car so you don't get into a crash. Be like, oh, I'm gonna like, where's my Ana? Is my Ana okay? Okay. Where's my Pharah? Is my Pharah okay? Okay. Are my tanks okay? Do I need to do something? Like, just check everything because otherwise, something's like a gray box is gonna come out of nowhere and like crash into you and you die.
Right.
Yeah.
It's better to be prepared for it
Right.
than not prepared and try to react immediately without knowing.
And the way that you're going to win games is by damage boosting as much as you possibly can. But at the same time, you only heal at 50 HP a second. You're one of like outside of like Zen's Harmony Orb. I think you're the second lowest HPS healer in the game. Question mark?
Yes.
So it's like your healing needs to be triaged. At the same time, you want to be, not only do you have very low healing output, but you want to be healing as little as absolutely possible so you can be damage boosting as much as possible. Like damage boosts and reses are the way that you win games on Mercy, because if you're just trying to heal people, a lot of other heroes heal a lot more. So that's not how you win games. And if you can figure out how to kind of like triage that healing and do as much damage boosting and get away with sneaky reses as much as possible, that's your difference maker.
Right. That makes sense.
Cool. Let's keep going.
Yeah, on this first point,
Bap.
Bap is not my strongest. We were concerned about them running a Pharah and wanted somebody to kind of poke it out of the sky, and nobody wanted to swap to a hit scan, which is one of my weakest points is aim. So I do switch back to Mercy after dying first time on Bap here.
Okay, well, okay, can we pause?
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, sure. Well, just for the purposes of, you know, consistency, I don't think Bap is very good in this comp, just based off of what you guys are playing, but here you are now. So what's your job in this comp?
My job in this comp would be to support both of my tanks because I have a higher healing than the Zen does, to my knowledge. But I don't have as much knowledge in BAP and what I should be doing.
So on this comp, well, what is Bap very good at? What is his kit very good at in terms of like being a support for your team?
I would say BAP is very good at that burst damage, but also a higher healing with like more of a close, tight, like fight situation, like almost similar to Moira's healing over a large distance, but keeping people up, as well as using the immortality field in situations where I need to keep people up for longer.
Okay. The way that you're starting to get there. I think the way that I like to think about it is that Bap is very good at picking a position and then fighting there for the rest of the fight. Your fight goes until you need to lamp, and then once you have lamped, you have committed to playing in that position for the rest of the fight, win or lose.
Right.
And obviously it gets a little more wishy-washy in terms of like, maybe you want to rotate out, or maybe you want to do something else, or you want to, but I feel like that's kind of like the default of how he is, at least in a neutral fight.
That makes sense.
So in the comp that you guys are on, like you're really mobile, like most of your heroes are very mobile, right? So you don't really have the option to play them in the same way. But you kind of have to function like the back. This is weird, but please bear with me. You kind of have to function like the backline of a double bubble comp with like the Zarya, Brig, Ana. And it feels in this comp you kind of have to have like a 3-man core of you, your Bap, and your Zarya, and then the rest of your team just does whatever the fuck they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because realistically, you're not going to be able to heal your ball super often.
Right.
He's going to have to deal with Harmony Orb and health packs. You might be able to help your Junkrat. You're probably not going to be able to help your Genji.
No.
But if your Zarya is close to you and your Zen is close to you, you guys as a 3-man core, no matter what else is happening in that fight, you can keep each other safe, right? You all you all hold each other up essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like you kind of need to function with that 3-man core, and then you need to let the other 3 members of your team just do whatever the fuck they want and hope they don't die, right?
Right.
Like, just I just think you're on like a very suboptimal comp overall, and I understand that you swap, but just for the purposes of understanding the game, I like to talk about this. Is that something that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Bap is something that I'm learning because I know there are times that Mercy is not the best pick because there isn't DPS that need a damage boost that'll be effective with. So I'm looking into getting into other healers so I have those other options for situations where Mercy is not the optimal choice for the comp that we have for a team.
Usually in those situations, if you're not running like a kind of brawly comp, Brig is usually the best choice.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the fact that Brig still heals in a very similar way to Mercy, of just you pick a target and they are now healed. You don't need to like have some crazy mechanical talent. You don't need to do anything. It is just this person is in danger. Now they are not, right? You have those repair packs. And then you also Mercy is a hero that I think is kind of resource neutral. You don't need help, but you also don't you're not taking a lot of resources from your team, but you're also not giving a huge amount of like resources to your team in terms of like immediate defensive ult. Mercy has a lot of like, I guess, tempo abilities overall.
Right.
You're not like a Zarya who needs resources to be enabled and then gives a bubble immediately, and that's immediate value, right? Mercy's just kind of a slow burn.
Right.
Brig does a very similar thing, except Brig is a lot more defensive about it. I think Brig is resource positive. She gives more to your team than she takes. So in situations where your other healer is going to be pressured, say against a dive comp, or if the enemy is playing dive.
Being able to support the other healer.
Being able to help your other healer is really, really important, I think. So I think Brig might be the next hero maybe we want to start looking into, and then we'll go to Lucio, and then we'll go to maybe Bap last, because Bap is the most complicated of all the main support heroes. If you want to be
very hard.
I was like,
Bap
I
is
mostly
really
swap between Lucio and Mercy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Best supports, honestly.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, that makes sense. But the fact that you have a Zen here, it makes you be like, oh, I need to be on more heals. Maybe Mercy isn't great. I guess I'll go Bap. So this is just like a random comp gain. So maybe it's not optimal, but Brig Zen is a heal comp that is used at high levels.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tentatively suggesting that because this is a comp game and your team might just fall over and die with Brig Zen. For anyone
it's
in
worth
chat,
trying though.
Listen, but like, if you're playing Brig Zen, or even if you're like the Brig in a Brig Ana comp, you're just trying really to like sit on your other support. You like
Right.
you wherever your Zen goes, you go, and you say,
Right.
"I am keeping you alive because if you are alive, we can win this fight, and if you are
Right.
dead, we cannot win this fight." It's a very binary. If Zen is alive, you can win. If Zen is not alive, you cannot win.
It's kind of the same way with like Ana Brig, where it's like Brig is keeping the Ana alive from anything that dives on her.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then that comp you can play a little more aggressively on the Brig, because Ana has a few tools to help herself, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's a similar thought process at like a base level.
Right.
Does that make sense, Jane, or am I just talking out of my ass again?
No, it makes sense.
Awesome, because I do that a lot.
I mean, they're not mutually exclusive things, though. You could.
all right. Let's move on. Let's go. Well, I'm gonna have to do the thing where I pause again. What you're 15 seconds in, you can press tab and see the enemy team comp. What kills you and how does it do it?
The Pharah and the Echo, as well as the Winston, who can close gaps very quickly.
Yeah, so the Pharah and the Echo are probably gonna be like big issues. So how do you, maybe Echo's a little more different because of the fact that she has like more, I guess, lateral mobility or horizontal mobility, not lateral. What the fuck am I saying? But okay, how do you usually try to play safe against those guys? What kind of things can you do as like a countermeasure against Echo and Pharah?
Usually it's keeping out of line of sights as well as staying under cover, whether that's like the little awning that's to the right or that bottom right area.
Yeah, I don't agree with the exact locations you said, but the idea is there. And it's also usually playing longer sight lines, right? Because they're
Right.
projectiles. And maybe it's a little more of like an active effort, but the thing that kills you on Echo is the stickies plus like any follow-up damage, but it's the stickies. The thing that kills you on Far is the rockets. Those take a while to travel, right?
Yeah.
They're not just
Can see them before they hit me.
yeah. So it's like when people complain about dying to random spam damage. It's not random spam damage. Like they were shooting and you could see them shoot, you could hear them shoot, you could do all that, but like you just didn't take any active efforts to dodge it, right? So you can take active efforts to dodge a Pharah or dodge an Echo shots, and maybe it's not going to be perfect, right? Like, but it's going to be better than nothing. So playing, I think, at least on this map specifically, like these are like longer sight lines, like kind of where you are on Bridge right now, I think are really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
If you went over to where your Zen is, I think you're fucked because the Pharah can just come around coast and you die.
Yeah. Get squished in there.
Yeah, and then also on this map, you have the opportunity, if you need to drop back and go back to the blue car behind you. If you can pan to that really quick, Jin. Yeah, going back here is something that we would see a lot of like Anas do during dive metas and stuff. But if you need to retreat temporarily in a fight, you can just drop back and come back here because it's just safer.
And still having that sight line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's that Echo and that Pharah, and then you need to be careful of the Winston, but you can kind of track where a Winston is, and you know his jump range, so you either play outside of it or just on the edge of it, you know?
Right.
So if he wants to jump you, he has to like overcommit.
That makes sense.
Cool. All right, well, let's keep going. Because where you are right now is like pretty close to me, right? Like,
yeah.
I feel like you should be like chilling further back here is good. But regardless, I think your team should be in that 3-man core kind of lineup. Because, like, I don't know why they're playing down there. Also, that is an unnecessary lamp. Those people were okay until that.
Yeah.
That felt very like you were just afraid of missing shots, right? Like, I think, Jane, you said a while ago, like, a nade is not a replacement for poor aim.
Right? Yeah.
Neither is a lamp.
Well, yeah, lamp's even worse.
Also, yeah, so patch came through for BAP. You really want to be trying to go for more directs.
Yeah.
If you hit splash damage, it doesn't heal a whole lot. There's a lot that I can unpack in terms of talking about BAP, but that doesn't really feel necessary right now because you swap after it like already.
Yeah.
So. BAP is probably my best hero, so there's a lot that I could talk about it, but that doesn't like.
Yeah, BAP has an insane skill ceiling. He takes a lot of work to get good at.
That's why I grinded him for like 2 years.
Wow.
Well, that was kind of an int. That fight was lost, right? Like, you saw how that
Yeah.
fight was lost.
Yeah.
Then why'd you go in?
I have no idea, and I realize it now that I should not have, because I ended up getting long spawn.
Yeah, these staggers are super duper punishing for your team, right? Like,
Yeah.
so when you die like this, it's just you are not only, you know, hurting yourself by dying, you are hurting your team by making them take longer to get ready for the next fight.
Right.
In these kind of situations, it's die or get out. Like, don't
prolong it. Don't prolong it.
That's literally a call that I've heard at high level play. Die or get out. Just pick one of the two and do it right now. You have like don't try to live. Maybe no, just do one. Is that fair still?
Yes.
You know, it's kind of a dangerous res to go for, but I respect it. I think if she was better, she could have pushed you.
Right.
Yeah.
But she wasn't, so she didn't.
So there's been a couple times in this VOD where it's like there has been a death where oftentimes the best point to res is like immediately after that shot comes out. Like, you know, in this situation, right, if you were to able to, let's go back a bit. So in terms of res decisions, right, there are going to be certain times where, as I said, like you need to start the res immediately if you're going to get away with it, right? So this barrage happens here. Now, if you were to actually just spin around and start resing using this cover, you'd probably be able to finish the res before she can exit barrage and then kind of float forward and either press you or use the concussion to prevent that res. So this situation has happened twice previously in this VOD, where your best window of opportunity to res the individual was immediately after they died. This is not going to be every situation, right?
Right.
But
it's that decision right then and there to decide now or do I wait?
Yeah, because there's a lot of times where if you're trying to like think about like, should I res here, should I not? The longer you wait, the riskier that it gets because, you know, they're not only going to be able to know that you're going for it, but also maybe communicate to their team. You know, like if like a Hanzo, for example, who hits a shot knowing a Mercy is very close, even before he hears the res noise, he's going to be launching a dragon right at the body just to kind of cover it so that he can push up and make sure that if the Mercy goes for it, he's right there. So you're going to have a lot of people, that'll happen at the higher rank where people will get the kill and then immediately react to it. But at the lower ranks, it's going to be happening less often where people will, you know, people aren't expecting Mercies to be like Johnny on the spot and going for the res instantly. So if you are kind of like trying to play higher tempo than your rank kind of expects, you can usually get away with some pretty insane reses that you really shouldn't. But yeah, so if you do kind of like spot an opportunity, you know, you can be a surprisingly far way away. Like you could start that res right away.
Yeah, and then kind of like, wiggle to the side.
Right, just walk away, making sure you're getting no splash damage and things like that. And I mean, we were looking at earlier where you can kind of like start the res and then be on the other side of a wall or underneath platforms or as you're falling, right? So if you have somebody who dies on a ledge, you can res it and like complete the res as you're
slowly
falling.
Fall, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like really, really sneaky reses you can get away with. So here is a situation like the res was good, but you know, like that concussion almost interrupted it.
Yeah.
My mic was muted.
Oh no.
Can we go back can we go back to when she get caught in the grav?
Got caught in the grav. When was that?
The grav I dove into.
Immediately after this.
Was I just blind?
Yes.
It was me, the Rhine, and the Ana in the grav.
Okay, pause. The second this grav ends, where's your escape?
Above me to the left with the...
Yeah, it's the soldier.
Yeah.
But why do you not go to the soldier?
Because I tunnel visioned and saw the low Genji, which I should not have because there was an echo there.
That's bad. When you're in a grav, you have literally nothing to do other than think about what you're gonna do when the grav is over. That's like when you get grabbed, you're the only thing you can do is wait for grav to end. Like for your hero in this situation, so you need to immediately be like, okay, when this grav is over, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing when this grav is over? Because you had a really good, like, if the enemy team had more follow-up, but you just like narrowly escaped it, you could have lived by going to the soldier above you. But
in the high ground.
It's just that's just not something that really crossed your mind. Remember that you always need an escape path wherever you're going, because if you don't, you'll get caught in situations like this, and a better team will follow up on that graph. and you
Yes.
flying to your Genji like forward is going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna talk more about, like, I want to be a little bit pedantic just to try and use it as an example, where in this situation, right, you are also in the very center of your team, which is going to make it harder for you to have awareness. So there's a lot of times where I think that you could be a lot farther back, almost at like maximum beam range, and you also be wanting to use like cover. Even if you are be able to like fly around, you know, if you're going to be healing this Genji, you may as well be like crouching behind this blue car to heal him, or you could like Guardian Angel off your Reinhardt to position from that corner to this corner. But even Mercy. Despite the very annoying hitbox, should still be using cover. And using these covers that are not in the very center of your team is also going to allow you to, when you are looking at angles, like if you are using this cover, you can see all your entire team and you can get a better picture. So you being inside of the team is losing your awareness a little bit. But then if we continue like this, right, as during this Guardian Angel here, right, so you're trying to go to the Genji. One of the things that you could do is if you were farther away, you can slingshot off of the Zarya in order to catch up to the Genji. So if somebody's outside of your Guardian Angel range, Guardian Angel to somebody closer than that target, cancel it with space to carry that momentum across the map so you can like chain Guardian Angel to the next person. But then additionally, once you do start this Guardian Angel right here, right, while you're traveling, this is where you should turn around and look at your team, even if just for a second, right? And then one of the times is that if I went in here, right, the first thing that I'd want to be doing is checking, is anybody chasing me? And if no, I can pursue. But if I'm going deep like this, I want to know if somebody's setting up a pincer.
Right.
So there's a lot of times, like, the alarm bells in my, like, you know, the way that I play Mercy, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm getting flanked. It's like, and so we don't know if this is a bad decision, but we haven't tried to figure out whether or not it is. And if it was a bad decision, you do have the escape back up to the soldier because you saw that earlier, right? So when you are going aggressive, make sure you have retreats based off of not positioning, but based off of Guardian Angel targets.
That makes sense.
I'm taking care of you. Damage and
That's good.
you needed a doctor?
He's OTF, all right.
Big.
Yeah, he's like, let's go. I was like, okay.
Damage boost.
Let's go.
Oh, he's taking the very far angle, too.
Yeah. Okay, it's good of you to take cover. I don't think you're taking cover amazingly, but it's good of you to still try.
Right.
Big.
All right, yeah. Sometimes that's the play and it works. Oh, he's staying. All right. You guys want to commit to playing close.
This is actually a pretty decent choke point to, or spawn point to stuff.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to set up here, like, it's fucking amazing. Oh, he's going on the flank.
Oh, he's going on the flank of the flank.
We both heard the soldier. So that's what, yeah.
It's a good Velk. I like that. And you still go back to stick with your soldier to try and make sure that he's okay. I like that. That's good Velk usage.
Thank you.
That's the last compliment you're getting today.
Understandable.
I've got you.
Walk it off.
Big.
Cool, that's
Yeah,
good.
you're still gonna be stuffing here. Nice.
Yeah.
Damage.
Yeah, see, that's good res. That's like the kind of situation where it's like you're just safe and you get to like keep doing what you're doing. Oh, okay. Let's see if you have the smash. Oh, okay. There, Winston's bad. You probably could have slingshotted past that corpse
sure.
in order to like fly around the corner. I think.
Do you know how to slingshot, Blue Rose?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And also, that was another res. I think that you could have reaction resed. Before, so I think
I was still on cooldown for like 3 seconds
I wasn't
for
paying
it.
attention. Unlucky.
Yeah, because of the Genji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A clean bill of health.
Were you considering swapping there?
Yeah.
Okay. Where were you gonna swap to?
I was gonna swap to Lucio to see if I could get us back to the cart because I knew we were contesting it still. So I didn't know if we needed to speed to it or not.
I still think you should be on Lucio because of the fact that you're running Rhine, and I think that the heroes are inseparable.
Right.
but I also understand, like, yeah, I'll just stick with this because I think I'm doing okay with this, right? Like, I don't think the perfect comps are like necessary when you're playing it like not like a real competitive environment.
You're on a left.
Yeah, they got a DC.
Rip to a fallen soldier. Does she come back?
Yeah, she does come back.
Okay. I'd be like this would be a weird VOD review if she didn't.
Oh, no. So they were duoed with the Rhine, and the Rhine was like, oh, they DC'd, we're on Discord, they're coming back, and we're like, well, we're on last point, like...
Yeah. I think that like 99% of the time, whipping out the Glock is not a good thing. Just IMO. I think mathematically, you will do more damage with the, with like just damage boosting whoever is like you're fighting and being like, hey, please help me, instead of like trying to
do it myself.
the person. Because then that person goes, oh, what happened to my Mercy? Why isn't she damage boosting me? What's happening? Like, yeah, this is just kind of an unlucky situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes stuff DCs. Oh, you really just hinted at that cart there when you didn't need to. Actually, yeah, can we go back and because I want to talk about stalling before you run out for the first time, right? Like, pause here. Your diva is still alive, and between getting out of mech and going into like actually baby diva form, she has like invincibility frames, like she's fucking Dark Souls roll dodging. Makes sense. So like you don't need to just run at cart. There's still a few meters left, right? Like you don't need to just go. You don't need to just go. And there's still people coming back from spawn. So the biggest thing about stalls in these situations is you jumping on cart right now, you're not going to kill anybody. You're not a Doomfist.
It doesn't do anything.
You don't do anything. You just go in and die because you're like, I should be on cart right now. And sure, that's good. It's good to stall cart. But if somebody's already stalling cart, you're not double stalling cart. Like you just,
it doesn't change anything.
Yeah. You need to, like, in these scenarios, in like competitive environments, usually people will be like, okay, I'm on first, and someone will say, all right, then, okay, Tracer's going next. Okay, then Winston's going next. Like, you have an order of people who are going on cart in order to stall it.
Right.
But when you just jump on cart and die, it's like, not only are you potentially like fucking up that order, you're also stopping maybe the next person needs a couple of seconds. The person who's after you needs a couple of seconds in order to get there. When you just go in and die, you're not just stopping like the next 2 seconds of stall that you could have gotten. You're stopping the person behind you and behind them and behind them.
Right.
You're just like skipping a whole order of things and going to stall point because you feel like you have to, but you like there are other people who have to stall cart as well. And the more time that you make to stall cart, those people are going to be able to come back and help. But if you just go, no one else can go usually. So when you are stalling cart, try to wait for the other person to be about to die. Not quite dead, but very close. Very close. And then go. Because when you just jump in and die like this, it just hurts your team.
Yeah.
And if you are going to be doing it on Lucio, you can get to that cart even better if you're just like pivoting near a ledge, right? So I'd probably be getting to this position where I can stay safe, not on the cart, but my aura is still affecting the diva, and then as soon as I needed to touch, one kind of like wall skip would take you right onto the point to be the next person contesting. I almost ran out of breath.
That makes sense. Stalling cart is something that I need to work on because, as you'll see, I will dive cart 3 times here. And I think that's just like a panic reaction of mine where it's like, we need to stall, get on cart.
Well, no, there's nobody else, so you're the only one there, so you're going, and that's okay. And see, like, you getting on cart there, that made time for your diva to get on. And see, but now your ball's also going on at the same time.
There was no order. It was everybody picked a fast hero and touch as fast as possible.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Question for you, Gunther.
What's up?
On Lucio, how do you determine whether you're amping speed out of spawn to return to the points quickly or saving your amp for when you actually do get to the contest?
Depends on if there are other people before me in line. So say say there's one person on cart and you are the person who immediately respawns. you have to amp out to get there as quickly as possible. But if there's one person on cart and then another person says, I'm going to touch, and then maybe it's you, that's a situation where I just try and hit a good rollout, and then I save amp for heals. And maybe I try to amp heal the other person who's currently contesting on point while I stay kind of off point, but still in my aura range. So I think the rule, I don't like hard and fast rules, but for me, it's kind of like, if you are the next person to touch, you need to amp out. If you are not the next person to touch, you can just try and go for a good rollout and then amp heals.
That makes sense.
That's that's how that makes sense. That good?
Yes.
Awesome, cool. Let's keep going.
60 seconds remaining.
I feel like you guys would have won by now because you wouldn't have been staggered after second from your Ana dying, but that's just unfortunate. That is unlucky.
Close, close, close. What? What the crit?
Score
Gifting 20 subs?
3.
Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
Let's go. Appreciate that. I'm not sure why they're not showing up in chat, but it says what the crit is gifting 20 tier 1 subs.
I'm not even streaming.
Oh,
Thank
there
you,
they
Lucky
are.
Chris, for the 20 tier 1 subs. Really appreciate the support.
Any luckers in chat grabbing a tier 1 sub? Appreciate the support, what the crit. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Appreciate that, friend. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
So we got how long until our next person?
We can go over a little bit. We started late.
Okay. Awesome, cool. I don't know the schedule, so I don't want to be the one to fuck it up.
Ready for battle.
I just work here. You guys are on the hogs, Zarya.
Fun times.
I do not like that. No, no, no. Back when this was meta, I hated the game. Alright, so what's your job in this comp?
Damage boosting the Hanzo.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, nothing really more complex than that.
And keeping the Ana alive.
Well, yeah, but that's the usual, right? As main support, one
Yes,
of your
yeah.
primary tenets is save your Ana,
Yes.
or save your flex support.
1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Don't stop now. Let's get you that out there. I'm with you.
Oh, that was I think you left him a little quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of just like said, "Okay, have fun, bye." Like he could have gotten fucking rolled there if the enemy team could aim.
And like
Right.
that's another situation, right? You did once you started the Guardian Angel, you didn't need to like you were gonna end up there, right? You didn't
Right.
need
I could
to.
have turned around
You
and looked
could have
back at
turned,
the
and if you
Hanzo.
saw that the Hanzo was in trouble, you could have like slowed down your Guardian Angel or canceled or returned, or at least the other thing is that you could have like if you can Guardian Angel to somebody else, you can still turn around and beam the person you're flying away from, and it's still gonna
Right.
be you're still in the same sort of thing where you have 2 seconds. If you go behind cover, your beam will stay connected. You can still heal people for a full 2 seconds, no matter how far away you are from them. It will not break based off of range. It will only break based off of time that you are out of range. So if you Guardian Angel across the map, you can still beam that person for a full 2 seconds as you're fucking off.
Let me get you patched up.
30 seconds remaining.
Pull together. We can do this. Healing stream engaged.
So do you know how to stop your GA before you actually get to your target?
Yeah, it's the shift and then shift again will cancel it.
Yeah, so in those scenarios where like your GA is going to carry you into the enemy team, you can like stop it short, and I think you should be stopping it short because otherwise
Right.
you're going to like fly into the middle of 4 people and die. And
Right.
just be like, that's a good res.
That is
Going
good.
for that pretty quickly. I like that.
Keep the fun.
But like when you flew into your hog there and there were like 3 people in front of him, that's one of those where I would have stopped mine halfway.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
And there's going to be a lot of times where you don't like. I mean, you're mostly going to be healing people who are in combat, right? So if you Guardian Angel to somebody all the way, you're going to end up in a position where, I mean, you're in a combat area, basically, right? So there's a lot of situations where I'd like to be seeing when you do Guardian Angel that, like, you know, here I'd like you to see you slingshotting all the way through that doorway. Actually, I want to go even farther back. Yeah, this is where I wanted to talk about. Right, so you go up here, and then when you Guardian Angel down, right, you go here. This is a situation where, like, you're Guardian Angeling to the hog, right? But you should cancel it. Like, you're starting here. You should cancel your Guardian Angel about here with space. The jump to carry the momentum. And then you should drift to this corner, right? So you shouldn't land...
So that I'm not up in their front line.
Yeah, you don't want to land in open territory by just canceling it early and continuing the trajectory. You don't want to land with your Roadhog. About halfway, so you would already be too late here. You'd want to cancel here and end up at a corner, you know? So... So still be using cover, even if you are Mercy.
Right, okay.
You should be at peak performance levels.
10 seconds remaining.
Let's get you back out there.
Yeah, I like how quickly you like try to pull the trigger on this res. Because you know you have people right next to you. I don't know why your Ana just walked to the middle of the point. C'est la vie.
Just having an Ana duel there.
Your Ana just gets out Ana'd.
Yeah, alpha'd. Yeah, that's just, you're just kind of cleaning up here. It's like,
yes, pistol!
All right, yeah, sure, whatever. it's funny to me to like review like, well, reviewing gameplay is really interesting to me because it's like, if you make a mistake, if the person I'm working with makes a mistake, I can talk about it and unpack it and be like, hey, maybe this is a thing that you should be working on, and talk about like ways to work on it. And then I see somebody else in your game make a mistake and I'm like, you're a fucking idiot, you're so bad. Quit the game. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like, I'm coaching this person and they want to learn, but this other, you're just dumb. Why would your Ana drop to point like that? Why?
I think she wanted to
I don't care what
dominance
she
the
wanted.
other
I
Ana.
don't care what she wanted to do. It's bad, and she's stupid. And she deserves to feel bad.
Your support has arrived.
Pain.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Mom, don't you think it's time that you told Sam?
Do you swap this comp up at all, or can I ask you already what's your job in this team comp?
No, we don't swap it up at all. So it's the same. It's sticking with the Pharah to push them off of that point.
And it's also helping your Genji when he's blading.
Yes.
Because last time, or like there were a couple times where your Genji bladed, and you could have just helped him with the one shots, and that would have been cool.
Okay.
Oh, also, if you don't have Nano, Valk Blade is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when
Double the double.
when a Genji's blading, at that point you can kind of like ignore all rules of positioning, because the enemy team is going to be focused on him and solely him. So you can just like follow him into the middle of the enemy team, and they're almost never going to turn and fight you.
Right, because most of the time they scatter from the Genji
yeah,
blading.
for sure. So I mean, and that's like, if I ever see a Genji blading, I am just like in there with him, no matter how deep he's going. I do not care.
Okay. You know your threats in the enemy team comp. It's really just the soldier if you extend for too long, and maybe pull hook if you fuck up badly, but that shouldn't happen.
You've got this.
Yeah, so you did a little bit of slingshotting around that corner, but I think you could have carried that momentum through more.
Yeah, you definitely can.
Because part of like slingshotting is like making you really hard to hit, right? Like you are slowly floating down right here, and you are the easiest target on the planet.
Right,
But if you were
because it's predictable.
yeah, if you were slingshotting and whipping around every single way, you're hard to hit, and that's good because you don't want to be shot, because getting shot means you take damage, and taking damage means you die.
Yeah. We could talk about slingshotting even more, right? Because, like, if you have it where you can Guardian Angel to your beam target, that's another thing where you can either lose LOS on your target or be out of range and still be able to Guardian Angel to them. So when you're with a Pharah, for example, if you're like half a second before your Guardian Angel comes back off cooldown, you can actually stop holding space to drop and then change your momentum to like boost back up to make yourself harder to hit. And even if the
Right.
Pharah is flying above you, if you slingshot, you can get to a higher altitude than the Pharah was. So you can, like, really just be, like, all over the fucking
Launch.
place. Yeah,
Launch
just, like,
it everywhere.
cross the map all the time. It's pretty obnoxious to try and hit, honestly.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Cool.
Our Genji and their Mercy were out of that fight the entire time. We had heard afterwards that they were both up in the back room, just standing there, crouching at each other.
Oh, no. Ranked, by the way.
Yeah. Good practice environment, by the way.
Yep.
All right. Do you have anything you want to ask, or are we good to move to a wrap up?
I'm good to move to a wrap up.
Okay. So this is not a test. This is just what are you getting? So what are you taking out of here today?
I need to make quicker decisions whether I'm rezzing immediately or waiting it out. I'm also working on slingshotting into cover and making sure that I am, when Guardian Angeling to somebody, deciding whether I'm canceling it and taking cover or if I'm committing full forward with that person. And then making sure to understand when a fight is lost so I don't put in time and resources to burn myself to get a worse spawn and time than if I could have just gotten out myself.
Cool. And is there? What do you? How much turn roast? What do you think from our last session? You have improved on a lot, and what do you think you still need to be working on?
I think what I improved on from the last session is sticking to more of damage boosting. Like, even though those like healer bot like sirens are going off in my head, like leave the tanks unless Iana's like asking for additional help. It's her job to keep them up, and it's my job to apply the counter pressure with the DPS. So I've been doing better at that, and I think what I need to work on is just being more aware of where my team is as well as where their enemy team is at all times, because I feel like I lose that sometimes during games.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of the things you're in one of the fortunate positions as a student, in that a lot of the things that you're working on are things that if you implement into your gameplay, you'll be seeing immediate results. Like, you should be able to climb in the short term if you are able to implement a lot of these things that we're talking about. You know, there are sometimes I run into students where, you know, we have to like correct a fundamental misunderstanding about the game or something, but for you that's not the case. A lot of this stuff is just like things that we can add on to your gameplay to help you like think about a few more things or a few other ways to have impact. And you know, if you're able to put those in your gameplay, you should see, you know, some SR climbs pretty much right away. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been implementing like these a lot more, and I started 3 days ago at 1615.
yeah, I was just doing that math in my head. I was like, 'cause
Yeah,
we
and
did
I'm
a video
currently
with you a
sitting
week
at-
ago, and you were 1600
Yeah.
SR.
Yeah, and I'm currently sitting at 2149 right now.
I'm just the best.
So you've gained almost 600 SR in like a week and a
Yes.
half.
Yes.
And all right, well, I mean, okay, yeah, keep that up, Blue Rose.
So is
Yes.
this grounds to negotiate for a raise?
Awesome.
Disclaimer: Jayne compensates me very well. He's an amazing boss.
All right, Blue Rose, I am looking forward to you. I mean, like honestly, Platt is not out of the picture here within a couple weeks. So I am looking forward to the climb, and I wish you the best of luck on it.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to improving and getting better at this game.
Awesome, Blue Rose. Well, you have a great day. We got one more coaching session to do, so we will bid adieu
right.
for you today, but I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Bye, thank you, you too.
Bye now.